The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
This is Gerard with episode number 49. Oh my gosh, almost to 50. Of Florida's Fresh Mix on the Florida Podcast Network. A random mix of Florida's freshest personalities. Listen in, y'all.
Fresh Mixers, welcome back, or welcome to Florida's Fresh Mix podcast. My name is Amber, and I'm the lead content producer of the Florida Podcast Network. Gerard is your host, but not today.
Oh, really? You're gonna do it like that? Okay, Amber. All right. Tell them about your guest.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. I actually spoke with today's guest, and she is an incredible woman. She goes by the name Sweet Pasta. Ow. She is... She is the host of the Sweet Pasta Experience podcast. On her show, she talks about sexual wellness, and specifically her sexual wellness journey, self-love discovery, and escapades in the bedroom. She has an amazing energy, a magnetic personality, and honestly, it was such a pleasure to speak with her. I wasn't planning on it, but it worked out.
Okay. So let me jump in. So the reason why this was such a wonderful gift, the way things happened, is we as a team, because Amber has been the most amazing producer I could have ever asked for in my entire life.
Oh.
And we've grown to basically finish each other's
sentences.
Yeah, exactly.
Whoa.
Whoa.
That was crazy. It's like I'm like in your mind or something.
Exactly. So with this particular guest, it just seemed to make sense, given the sensitivity of these topics that I know very little about, because guess what? I'm not a female. And I have met Sweet Pasta in person at Podfest. She's an amazing woman. And I was like, well, not me. It's because, I think it's fair to say we make decisions together, Amber.
Yeah,
so,
we do.
Let Amber spread her wings and do this thing, because I believe in Amber, and my God, I was right. And Amber gave me a little bit of respite to take over for me. And I really, really so much appreciated it. And it turned out better than I could have ever done myself. So thank you for that. I really appreciate you.
Well, thank you for those kind words. I appreciate that. I was a bit nervous, but like I said, Sweet Pasta is just a great human, and she really made it easy for me. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, she pulls 90% of that interview. Like, I was just the person feeding her questions, but she was really running with it, spitting tons of knowledge, great nuggets of information. And I hope you guys take the time to jot them down or something, because they're worth writing down. I'm probably going to go back and do that myself.
And when Amber says you guys, she means you men out there. Okay. So no, men and women. I think there's a lot in here for everybody. Amber, you did such a great job of covering the gamut of all these topics, and Sweet Pasta really came through with, just dropping knowledge bombs over and over again. I want to repeat some of them right now because they're stuck in my mind, but I'm not going to spoil it. I'm going to let the listener take it all in themselves. But man, Sweet Pasta just totally nailed it. That pasta was sweet, sweet.
Yes, and there are tons of links in our show notes today to a few episodes that she references, and also all of her social media platforms, so go check it out. Funny enough, I don't actually know her real name, so we're just going to call her Sweet Pasta, and she'll explain how she landed on that name. But first, Gerard, why don't you tell everyone about Guitars Over Guns?
All right. As our devoted Fresh Mixers already know, for the past 3 years, I've proudly served on the board of directors of Guitars Over Guns. GoGo is an incredibly impactful nonprofit organization that offers students from disadvantaged communities in Miami, Chicago, and Los Angeles a powerful combination of music education and strong mentoring relationships with professional musicians to help them overcome hardship, find their voice, and reach their potential as tomorrow's leaders. Please head to the show notes for more information and, most importantly, to donate, donate, donate. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Go ahead, find the link in the show notes. You know where it is. Also, I just wanted to give a quick trigger warning because in today's episode, we briefly mention sexual assault and abuse. All right, people, let's get into my conversation with the one, the only, Sweet Pasta.
Oh, Amber's growing up. Oh, I'm so proud.
Okay, we have Miss Sweet Pasta on the show today. Sweet Pasta, how's it going?
Oh, good. I'm so excited to be here.
I know. Okay, real quick, let's tell people how we met. So, Podfest 2023. You can take it from here.
Yeah, we met at Podfest 2023 in Orlando about 2 months ago. Well, a month and some change ago. I was volunteering at the Podfest. I was working check-in so I can get my free conference ticket. Hey.
Yes.
And then
that's genius, by the way. That is genius.
Yeah, you can do that for almost any conference. If you want to attend a conference for free, just ask to volunteer. But I was registering you, and then I think I was asking where you were from, and you said South Florida, and I was living there, and I was like, let's exchange contact information. And
we did.
Yes.
And now we're here.
Networking gone right.
Exactly. And we instantly, like you said, connected over our South Florida residencies. But you are not from South Florida. How long have you been in Miami, and where did you move from?
So I've been living in Miami for 2 years, literally 2 years this month. And I'm originally from Chicago.
That is a hike. That is like, I can't even imagine the culture shock that you experience, or maybe you're still experiencing that only 2 years in. I mean, what's that transition itself been like so far?
Oh, it's been good. I like South Florida. I love Miami. One, because of the diversity. I like meeting people from all over the world. And then two, the weather. And then the parts I don't like, traffic, specifically on US 1. And then public transit. Public transit is way better in Chicago.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, that is not one of South Florida's strengths, or even Miami. I know they have like the Metro Rail and all that, but that's just like the downtown area. Yeah, they got to do something about that for sure. All right, so let's dive into what we're here to talk about, which is your podcast, The Sweet Pasta Experience. I just want to quickly read the show description for our listeners because I love it. Okay, here it goes. The Sweet Pasta Experience is more than a podcast. It is a sexy self-love journey. Join you, Sweet Pasta, every week as I share stories about becoming more comfortable and confident in my body and sexuality. And for all the princess hoes like myself, my goal is for you to take pride in yourself, prioritize yourself, and be patient with yourself. You're worth the effort and the pursuit. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. If that ain't a podcast description, I don't know what is, Sweet Pasta.
Thank you.
Just that alone, we just have to dissect a couple things. What instantly catches my mind is it's a sexy self-love journey. Tell me more about that, and I guess kind of about some of your goals when you first started the Sweet Pasta Experience and the stories you wanted to tell, the vulnerability that you wanted to share with the Princess Hoes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So the sexy self-love journey, there's multiple ways to gain confidence in the world. For me, the sexy self-love journey came about because in the past, I've experienced sexual violence, sexual assault, or just being a pushover in a bedroom. So when I moved down to South Florida, became more sexually active, and I was just really proud of myself for how I've navigated myself in sexual experiences. So I started documenting it, telling people stories in person. And then I was like, let me just do this as a podcast. And whenever I make the episodes, or as I was creating the podcast, I was giving advice to my younger self. Like, you can speak up in the bedroom. No one is a mind reader. Stop over analyzing the moves you do in the bedroom. Like, you're great. Your body is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Things of that nature. And just becoming more sexually active, it just made me feel more comfortable with my body.
Everything you just said, I feel like it's one of those things where it's like easier said than done, you know? Like, of course, like, we should be confident in the bedroom. Of course, we should love our bodies, but that is something that is so difficult, especially for women, and women who have had traumatic experiences in the bedroom. As far as you know, do you think that your stories and the things that you share about your own experiences, have you received any feedback, or has it, like, I guess, resonated with people, women and men? We're going to talk about your your male listeners. We will get there. But specifically with your female listeners, what has that community or that connection been like?
Yeah. And just to go on back with what you said, it's easier said than done, because I know for myself as Sweet Pasta, usually people get their freak on with romantic partners, but a gap that I've had in bisexual experiences is that I haven't had an ongoing romantic partner. So I haven't had the experience to gain sexual confidence. So that's why another reason the podcast became so significant, because I'm just trying to figure it out like everyone else. Women, they've been very appreciative, because some of them, and how I work the content, it's not just like, oh, let's get our freak on and feel amazing. A lot of it is transferable skills. Whether you're in or out the bedroom, you always should speak up. You should be patient with yourself. Take the time to reflect, observe, and pay attention to what other humans are doing. And women, princess hoes, of course, they appreciate the freaky content, but also they just appreciate the overall confidence. Like, someone reassuring them that they're not tripping, that they're not asking too much. They're just asking the wrong person.
Wow. No, I love that. Because I'm sure, like, the stories that you're telling are relatable to women. And it's like you said, it's not like these questions haven't been asked. I like that. You're just asking the wrong person.
Girl.
I really love that.
Girl. It took a long time to get there, baby. Because I had a scarcity mindset. And this is how I talk on the podcast. Like, I say basic principles, but I just apply them to the bedroom. But, like, I had a scarcity mindset. I would let any and all things happen to me. I actually just had an episode recently where I talked about experiencing rape, because I was a pushover. I wasn't vocal. And how I became sexually active was because I thought that's how you attract the guy, because I was insecure. And I know some women can relate to this. Like, you're invisible. You don't think you're pretty. So guys like sex. So let me be sexual and then they'll like me. That's just my thought process at the time. But now, as a mature woman, I understand that for those of the people who support heterosexuality, stereotypical gender norms, because I know people got different flavors. Now I understand that it's the man's job to try to appeal to you, not the other way around. But there are women who relate to that, who understand what it's like to be invisible, to let anything happen to them sexually, like not care for their bodies, because they really don't teach us to have healthy relationships with our bodies. Like, okay, Don't be musty, but
right, like have good hygiene, like for your sake and everyone else's sake,
right.
But
and don't get pregnant.
Yeah,
and don't be fat. That's all they teach us, but they don't teach us like. I had another episode where I talked about experiencing having a yeast infection. Like, they don't talk about that in the different ways you can get it. So yeah, that's what I want for myself and my fellow princess. I was like, to have a healthy relationship with your body. And I'm just documenting my journey of having a better relationship. I do not have to figure it out. Not yet.
It's a journey, like you said, and journeys, like, I mean, what would that destination even look like? You know, full confidence in your journey. Is there a destination? Like, in what is that? Or is you're just always learning and always trial and error or moving and grooving type of thing?
Oh, that's a good question. Destination, man, I think that would be kind of boring to have arrived. I think the destination is to be able to equip people with the same knowledge and confidence that I have. Because I'm very pro you not as poppin' or as talented as you think you are unless you teaching someone else to do the same.
I like that. A couple things that you said that I want to touch on real quick. You mentioned, now that you're a more mature woman, you have, you understand that it is the man's role to appease you in the bedroom and to care and consent and all those things. How did you learn that over time? Like, did you have this aha moment of like, oh, that's what I've been missing, or that's the missing piece to this crazy puzzle? Like, I don't know. You get what I'm saying? Like, how did you learn and how did you come into that?
Yeah, I remember my first interaction. It was in 7th grade. I was writing notes in class. The language arts teacher grabbed my note and she read it out loud. And I'll never forget this one girl. She was like, girl, the boys are supposed to chase you. You're not supposed to chase them. And that really didn't resonate with me in 7th grade because I was like, boys don't even know I exist. Like, I mean, if they need a pencil or something, but they're not acknowledging me. And then in most recent, yeah, right. And then in most recent years, because I turned 30, I'm turning 31 this year. I just got tired of having negative experiences with men. And I came to the realization that it's clearly me because it's not like all my exes had a convention. It was like, okay, y'all gonna ghost her. You gonna to verbally abuse her. You're gonna spread rumors about her. You're gonna gaslight her. Break. Go team. Like, no, like I was the common denominator in all the situations. But the issue wasn't that I was ugly. That's what I thought it was. It was just me being surprised that men were nice to me. And I remember growing up, I did a reflection in my relationship with my dad. He was either away at work or he was sleeping. And the times that he was up, I associated him with getting in trouble because that was his reputation, was an intimidating man. You respect him. Don't be on any nonsense or you get a whooping. Once I came to that reflection, I just started doing research. I listened to the podcast. I read books, a lot of TikTok videos, and just learning how men operate. The book I'm reading right now that's really been helpful is Why Men Love Bitches. It's basically a book for women to have boundaries. Like, men respect when you have a standard for yourself. Like, you just don't tolerate anything from them. Because I had a scarcity mindset, I thought like, oh, I can't afford to have standards. I can't afford to decline a man because it's either he comes or like I didn't have any options. So I thought, so I couldn't afford to say no. But after reading that book and other books and listening to speakers, especially listening to men, not only just like with having standards, but just learning that a man's going to care for you. It's not just, oh, stick up for yourself, stick your chest out. But he's actually going to take the time to take you on a date, respect your boundaries, travel very far to see you, stay up late to talk to you, like make time for you.
I guess from what you're saying, it sounds like it's way more than just a sexual relationship with a man. Like, if anything, like the sexual nature of a relationship is kind of like, I don't want to say secondary because it is very important, of course, but that's not like the end all be all. Like, there are more things, like you said, going on dates and, buying you nice things, not because it's your birthday, just to do it. And having that thoughtfulness and that carefulness. Is that kind of where you're going?
Yeah. And if anything, what's done outside the bedroom sets you up for what's inside of the bedroom.
Snaps, come on. Like, that is good. We're just gonna real quick.
Yeah. But yeah, just reading, researching, and also using my friends as blueprints and people around me. Because sometimes there are men out there who will have you thinking that you're asking for too much. But it's just like, for example, one of my good girlfriends, her partner, he would drive from St. Louis to Chicago, which is a 5-hour drive. to see her every weekend. And then there will be individuals who lived in the same city, 30-minute Uber ride, car ride, couldn't see me. You're not asking for too much. You're just asking the wrong person.
Wow. No, yeah. I mean, I feel like in that case scenario, it's like you're not even asking for too much. You're asking for, at that point, it's like the bare minimum. Do you want to hang out with me? Do you want to see me? Do you care about me? Or do you only want to do it when it's convenient for you and you just want to screw around type of thing?
Right.
And that's how, I hate to say it, but like, there are so many men out there who are like that. But then on the opposite spectrum, there are so many men who aren't like that. Like, is there a spectrum of, can I just call them for what they are? Is there a spectrum of douchebags?
Ooh, is there a spectrum? A spectrum.
Or is it like one or the other? It's like you can't really have like one foot in, one foot out. You're either a douchebag or you're a decent person.
Oh my gosh. I think, yeah, there's a few types. I think there's really great guys. I think there's guys who are great, but they lose interest when you have sex too soon, or if there's like a lack of mystery. This is what I'm reading in the book. And this is what I've had to process. Or they get scared because they're like smothered with commitment. Like they run off like a bunny or a deer. And then there's the guys who only just want to get their freak on. But I don't even think the guys who want to get their freak on only and no commitment aren't necessarily bad. It's the way you go about it. Like if you just straight 100 with it, like, I just want to lick and stick and dip out, I could respect that. But it's the ones who I don't respect, the ones who give you all the sweet nothings. Cause what I observed with some women is that some of us don't even want to get married, but we don't want random hookups. We just want good conversation. And if her mind is mentally stimulated, then the bedroom fun is going to be fun. But if we can't even get past a conversation, like WYD, where you at?
Yeah.
That's not going to get her excited.
No, yeah, exactly. And I like what you said about, the guys who just want to, have sex and friends of benefits and arrangements like that. Like you said, you can respect that because they're upfront about it. They're not doing the sweet nothings. They're not trying to sweet talk and charm you until they get what they want and then drop you like it was nothing, and that's manipulation, So I like that you said that. Even that, there's like a little spectrum in itself of those types of guys.
Right. And even friends with benefits, I feel like guys don't even understand what that means. I wish, from my experiences, I've only had one true friends with benefits, but we never even had sex. Like we would like kiss and touch sometimes, but I wish more men understood that friends with benefits, like be a friend, just be a friend.
Yeah.
Or just call it what it is, like sex with no commitment. But I guess that's not as attractive as friends with benefits. Like, be my friend.
And these special benefits with a capital B. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I feel you. So something that I'm really loving that you just keep saying over and over is that you're reading books, you're listening to podcasts, you're listening to speakers, you're educating yourself. And from my understanding, you're kind of like undoing your perceptions of men that you were exposed to, growing up. And I commend you for that, seriously, for taking the initiative to, like I said, just change those perspectives. Because a lot of women, unfortunately, they go through their entire lives having the notions about men that are not really true in terms of, how they view us and your worthiness to a man and like your worthiness without a man, like, all those things and your outer and inner beauty. Like a lot of women, they just, like I said, they go through their whole lives and they don't understand and they think that they're the problem, and that's sad.
Yeah, definitely. And part of the reason my motivation, I got tired of the narrative of saying like men are trash, men are trash. Yes, there are some men who are trash. However, I'm very pro law of attraction. Words have power. So saying that is just going to just reinforce that idea, like bring it into my life. And the mantra that I'm saying to myself is my liberty is my responsibility. Okay, this is how I started, but this is not how I have to end it. So just me taking a little more responsibility because I haven't 100% made the best choices. And I don't think it's very beneficial to have the victim mentality. Woe is me. Men only want to treat me bad because that's just going to scare people off or invite manipulation. But also you can't, as a woman, and I'm guilty of this too, is hide in groups of women because men aren't going anywhere. They're just not. So just isolating yourself with women is not going to do anything. So just learning and not only for myself, but to pass it on to the next woman.
No, yeah, absolutely. Sweet Pasta, this is all really, really good stuff. And I just need you to define a couple words for myself, for our listeners. We're just going to go ahead and start with, actually, let's start with Sweet Pasta. Tell people how you chose that name that's now become your brand.
Yeah, so Sweet Pasta came about because I'm a sexy worker, an adult entertainer. And when I would be interacting with my clients or my sweeties, as I like to, or my fans, they would tell me about other sexy workers and they'll say, "Oh, you're so nice. You're so nice." The other ones, like, they're so mean and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, well, I take pride in being a sweet person. And then the pasta came about because one of my favorite rappers, his name is Moneybagg Yo. He has a song called Shadas and it says, "When it's good, it sounds like you're stirring Alfredo." So that's how Sweet Pasta came about.
That's amazing. Okay, next keyword we got to define. And you actually kind of said it, sweeties. Who are the sweeties?
Oh gosh, the sweeties. They're my fans, supporters, the ones who really love Sweet Pasta. Typically they're men, but I mean, I haven't had a woman sweetie just yet, but I'm open to it.
Just yet. I like that.
Just never say never, never say always.
Oh, okay. You're just dropping nuggets right now. Like, I'm just gonna, like, for my own purposes, just go back, listen to this interview, and just write down all these like bomb quotes and just hang them up on my mirror or something. The next word we're going to define is princess hoes. Who are the princess hoes, Sweet Pasta? Tell the people.
Me, I'm a princess hoe. No, a princess hoe is someone who's sexually motivated through nice treatment. Typically, it's when a man treats a woman nice, but you could be a princess hoe if you're a gay male or a gay or queer woman. One thing I would really like to see is a woman treat a man like a princess hoe. That would be kind of cool.
I'm sure it happens. It has to.
It has to, because everyone isn't an alpha dominant man. Like, there's men who like being submissive and there's women who like being dominant and sugar mamas and to lead the relationship. So that's why I say never say never, never say always. Like, I honor the gender spectrum and the sexuality spectrum.
Absolutely. Next word. You already kind of said it, but sexy worker. What is that?
Well, a sexy worker is someone who gets paid for displaying some type of sexuality. That's what I like to use. It feels weird saying sex worker. Not even weird. It feels unsafe, to be honest. So I feel like there's less of a stigma when you say sexy workers.
And by unsafe, do you mean like stigmatized?
Stigmatized, yeah. That's where I most so mean. And then, of course, the law, because depending on what type of sex work you do, there's levels to it.
Right. So let's talk about some of the work that you do. You are on OnlyFans. Tell me about how that got started. And I know OnlyFans has its own stigmas within it, or outside of it especially. So if you wouldn't mind telling me how you got started with OnlyFans, why you got started with OnlyFans, and it's a 3-parter, I'm sorry, and how you have been able to overcome stigmas.
How I got started, a good girlfriend of mine who does sexy work, she had recommended it. And I want to maximize the different ways to make money for myself. And then the stigma, I just tell myself, man, trust me, I did not come to South Florida to be a sexy worker. I had other dreams in mind. But when I was applying to jobs, like, bills had to be paid in between waiting for job interviews. So that's where I mind myself. Like, if for anyone who shames sexy workers, fix the economy, fix the job hiring process, expedite it, and I won't show my booty hole online anymore.
There you go.
Boop, there it is.
And also, like, why do they care? You know, have you actually faced backlash from people, whether online or offline, about your OnlyFans account and what you do there?
Men, they'll say the thing like, oh, you're too good for this, blah, blah, blah. Like, I know I'm too good for this, but my bills don't have dignity. So, like, they do not care about dignity. But people have said that. But I always think it's weird when consumers judge sexy workers. Well, if you don't like what I'm doing, like, why are you subscribing? Why are you paying me to do this work? Like, it's supply and demand. Like, the only reason she, myself, or any person who does sexy work is doing it is because they can make a profit. If it wasn't lucrative, we wouldn't be doing it. Right. So, like, let's not judge the workers, but let's teach the consumers not to want to consume.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, just, I feel like anyone who is going to, like, point a finger, especially if they are, like, consuming that content, maybe it's just their own insecurity. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's their own self-loathing of the fact that they are consuming. I don't know what that is. Like, because like you said, like, then why are you subscribing? Then why are you viewing and whatnot?
Yeah, it always threw me off. And especially it'd be the ones who aren't offering to pay my bills. They can give advice, but they can't give me some money for my bills. Like, you, Mm-mm. Yeah. And I talked about that in the episode, for any men who have a princess hoe, they're dating a woman. So I know this happens typically with heterosexual relationships. Like, men feel insecure when the woman that they're with is in a relationship. I don't know how it works with other sexuality dynamics, but that was my advice to men. Like, if you're tired of your princess hoe being a sexy worker, teach her another way to get some money. Don't just tell her to quit, because what happens if y'all break up? She left out hanging to dry without a source of income. So for any men who are disturbed by that, especially if, like, they care about the sexy worker, walk with her hand and foot, not hand in hand, not hand and foot. Walk with her, because somebody randomly like, oh, you should become a nurse. Okay, first of all, that's going to take years. How am I going to?
Oh, yeah. How? All those loans, don't do it.
Right. It's a scam. No, being a nurse is a valuable job, but that's going to take time. And even, like, how am I going to pay for the application fee? How am I going to support myself during school? Like, that's how I know just people just be talking, don't know what they're talking about. But for any men out there who have a princess or who do sexy work, show her a way to get some money that makes as much or more than, but don't just slut shame her and make her feel bad for the line of work, especially if you met her when she was doing sexy work.
One of my closest, dearest friends, she told me something that her great grandma told her, and I hope I don't butcher it. It was something along the lines of, like, don't judge someone on how they buy their food, because we all have to eat.
Oh,
yeah. Ooh. And I know I'll never forget that. Because there are so many young women who are pursuing nursing degrees. We'll just use that one. Arguably one of the most expensive degrees and one of the hardest 4 years to get. I had some close friends of mine in college who were nursing majors, and they basically just cried in their textbooks all day, every day. But there are women out there who are doing sexy worker jobs and gigs to pay for that opportunity. So I just, it's hard to judge when you don't really understand, like, what the sexy workers, I guess, intentions are and their reasons and stuff. So I can see where that could be frustrating at times.
Yeah. Some women, they're paying the loans off from the schools that some women or people, because there's men, there's gender fluid, there's trans people who do sexy work too.
Right. No, absolutely. Switching gears a little bit back to your podcast. I love your energy. And okay, people, This is a solo show. Yes, it can be tricky at times to do an interview style show like this one, where you have to book guests and rely on their schedules. Hopefully they match well with your schedule, get the recording, do the editing, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, like, we know that we are going to generate a conversation between two people and hit record and let's do this thing. But you, Pasta, you are solo in the majority of your episodes. Like I said, I thoroughly love your energy. You're hilarious. You are your authentic self through and through on these episodes. Do you script at all, or is it just off the cuff? Is it a little bit of both? Because you're just naturally gifted at speaking and, like I said, just kind of being yourself behind a mic. I would love to hear more about that process.
Oh, 100% scripted. I am very anti speak off the dome. I've been public speaking since I was 14, so about 16 years. So I grew up writing and memorizing speeches. So my process, what it looks like is I wrote the scripts in a notebook, but now I type them up in Google Doc. And then I have my points listed out. I organize it. It's a format. And sometimes I have to re-record. And that's one reason I like podcasting over live radio, is that if I make a mistake, I can just redo it. But 100% scripts all the way. It's because I feel like it helps organize your ideas and it prevents you from rambling. That's how I'm able to create content for 20 minutes, because I map out all my ideas on a piece of paper. And I encourage anyone to do that.
But then, like, it doesn't even sound like you're reading. That's the thing. Like, that's why I had to ask. I'm like, is she reading or no? It doesn't sound like she is. Like, I'm actually kind of shocked that you're so scripted, because it's really hard to tell. So how do you, I don't even know, just convey and like act like you're not scripted, because it really sounds like you're just riffing.
Oh, I'm not going to lie. I usually record 3 or 4 times. Like, I have to do at least 3 or 4 takes. And then 2, I just love the content that I talk about. It's exciting. I feel cool when I talk about my love for Hispanic men and getting my freak on and the life lessons. And what also helps is that this isn't my first podcast. I'm a serial podcaster. This is my 3rd one, on top of I have a long track record of public speaking. In addition to, I read a lot and I consume a lot of content. So because I consume content, a lot of self-help books, self-help podcasts, and YouTube channels, it's very kind of like monkey see, monkey do. And that's how I would also recommend for anyone who wants to improve public speaking wise or some type of oratory job, is to read and listen to people, because speaking is like cooking. You can cook better when you have more food, and similar, you can speak better if you have more vocabulary.
I 1000% agree with literally everything you just said. I feel like my confidence behind the mic has improved just because I'm like a podcast junkie. Like, I love listening to interviews. I love listening to people just speak about interesting things or things that are interesting to me. But no, I totally buy into that. Everything you just said.
Yes. And thank you for the compliments too, by the way. I appreciate that.
Oh, no, of course. And I mean it wholeheartedly. Like, you are easy to listen to because it's, it can be fun and your stories and, exciting, mysterious. But you also talk about things that people don't often like to talk about when it comes to conversations around sex, like consent culture, STI prevention. Tell me more about those things and why you feel it's necessary to dive into those topics and say what you got to say about them.
Well, my passion around consent culture came from my experiences with having a low self-esteem and me experiencing sexual violence. And then STIs, that came about, like the prevention of it and awareness of it, that came about when I was in college. I used to be an educator. I used to be part of an organization in college where we would go to high schools and teach them different health workshops. And I just naturally gravitated towards pregnancy prevention workshops and sexually transmitted infection awareness. I can't articulate it why it's important to me. I think it goes hand in hand. Maybe because it bothers me when men want to have sex with women without a condom, and especially no commitment, because we live in a world that puts a lot of pressure on women and a very high victim blaming.
Yeah.
So it's just not, oh, you ejaculate and no, like she has to deal with the responsibility afterwards, like the pregnancy or STIs. Not to say that men don't get sexually transmitted infections. No, men can experience that too. So yeah, and also talking about that, I'm a silly, serious person. Like I like having serious topics, but making them fun and interesting. And I figured since I have a male audience and I already got their attention through the sex, like I want to help them have better sexual experiences with women, because if they're more competent, then they will positively impact the women that they have sex with.
Yeah, it would just be better for everyone if men were more competent in more ways than one. But no, specifically in this way, I totally hear you. And I like what you said, like you already have their attention because you're talking about sex and your experiences, your journey. And when you said they go hand in hand, it's almost as if, how could you not talk about those things when you talk about sex?
Right, definitely. And once again, I don't want to saying men are trash. That's a parade I no longer want to march in. Like, okay, there truly are some good guys who want to know how not to be trash. And unfortunately, and I'm guilty of being a feminist like this, sometimes the rage gets a little out of hand, and some men don't feel safe asking questions because they don't want to be a perv. They don't want to get yelled at. So with the Sweet Pasta experience, my hope is it to be a safe space. Like we can get our freak on, we can hee hee and ha ha, but I want my listeners, especially my men, my sweeties, to walk away knowing what to do. So the princess hoes and the other women in the world, whatever gender identity, sexuality, that they feel better. But yeah, we got to help men not be trash and not suck. Like we just got to help them. Clearly they haven't been able to do it on their own, listening to their friends. Oh gosh.
Yeah. No, yeah, I don't think that's not always the best solution. You know, maybe, who knows, maybe you have impacted your male listeners to where they are sharing what they're learning to their friends, to their guy friends, and you're starting this beautiful snowball effect. I mean, you really never know. I mean, that's kind of exciting to think about, I guess.
Yeah, because women, it's so interesting with women. If I think about like strip clubs, like men, they'll go to a strip club before they go to therapy. So that's why I realized, like, with my podcast, is definitely a safe space, because women, we got it unlocked. We're open to learning. We're open to sharing in the community, but it's kind of like the medicine candy, so to speak. So giving guys what they want, which is sex topics and entertainment, but a trusted source that's reliable, because who better to ask about women than an actual woman? And I'm unbiased, because it's not as though like they could ask the women in their family, but it might be a little bit of bias, and they can't ask their significant other, because some women, unfortunately, their communication skills, like they'll get turned off or irritated by some men and their curiosities. Like I remember one guy, someone randomly, he wanted advice about his wife being a stripper, and he couldn't ask his friends, but because I didn't know all the details and didn't have like an intimate connection with him, like he could talk to me about it. So yeah, it's just one way to help empower men.
Right. It's like you're that third party, that, like you said, that safe space, the trusted source. And I understand what you mean by that unbiased, because you are totally out of the equation. What you say or don't say isn't going to necessarily like directly impact the situation. It's really just like your input and like take it or leave it kind of thing.
Exactly. Like I gain nothing from you taking my advice. Like it would be great. It would be a great ego booster. But at the end of the day, if you don't take my advice, I mean, that's on you.
Right. And how could you not? You are learning and you are educating simultaneously, which is awesome. And I think that's really special that you felt the need to share these valuable insights for the betterment of men and for women on, all different spectrums and whatnot, in all different areas of the bedroom. I mean, what you're doing, Sweet Pasta, it is really special. And once again, I commend you and I thank you for being on this podcast and sharing these small but mighty nuggets of wisdom for myself, just selfishly, and our listeners. Please tell the people where they can find you on social media and elsewhere.
Yes. So my personal Instagram is sweet_pasta1000, Twitter sweetpasta1000, and then y'all can look me up on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and then of course the Spotify and Apple Podcasts, the Sweet Pasta Experience.
Solid. Thanks again, Sweet Pasta. Seriously, I appreciate your time. And this has been a really great first interview for myself on the Fresh Mix podcast. So yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I'm laughing for so many different reasons right now. I'm laughing from pure joy after hearing my amazing producer, Amber, give such a bomb-ass interview. This was her first interview on this show. And after that, I am definitely going to encourage her to do more because she did a phenomenal job and clearly a better job than I could have done given the subject matter. So kudos to her. And I want this fresh take to reflect a perspective that I can give that they probably cannot. The same way that the reason that Amber was so effective in her interview was because they have experiences that I will never have, right? Because I'm not a woman. Now, they're not a man. So let me tell you from a man's perspective who has had male friends his entire life, how poignant that interview was. Men will get away with whatever you let them get away with. This is a fact. Now, yes, I am generalizing. I should have said most men, and that is true. But like I've always said consistently to my sister, who's the producer of this show, my younger sister, producer Jemmy, most men are pigs. Most men are pieces of shit. Most men suck. And by most, I mean more than 50%. Finding a good man is difficult. The only reason that I consider myself to be a good man is because of the way I was raised. My parents have been together since they were 15 years old, and they're now in their 70s. And I was raised by a man who revered my mother, and in turn, my mother reveres him. She's his queen. He's her king. That's very obvious. They're number one in each other's lives, and everybody else is number two. Okay. And we're talking about, this is how I learned to open doors, write poems, all that romantic stuff that seems to be basic. But apparently these days, women get shocked when a man opens a door or calls back or writes a poem or whatever. These are not supposed to be exceptional things. This is the way things used to be. And I'm not talking to like an old fogey who's like, back in my day. No. It's not about back in my day. It should be today. And what happens is, just like Sweet Pasta was talking about, when you kind of accept certain things, if you give an inch, a man will take a foot. Okay. And this is not going by things that I've done, but it's what I've observed. Because I can't bring myself to do disrespectful things to women because of the way I was raised and what I've seen. As a matter of fact, anyone who's come around me who I see as being a borderline, misogynist, narcissist, I've extricated from my life because that's not something that I condone. Just being a good man isn't really that hard. It's about honesty. It's about being trustworthy. It's about being supportive. It's about doing things randomly to show appreciation. I'm not talking about on holidays like Valentine's Day and her birthday and whatever, whenever, right? You know, it's about being communicative. It's about not raising your voice. I mean, I could go on and on and on. I mean, and none of these things should be surprising. And what stood out to me was when she was talking about the scarcity mindset that, you know, you have to act a certain way to cater to men because good men are so few and far between that you need to cater to them. And what men is want sex. So if you want to find a man, then you have to do this and that. But that's just complete BS. Women have all the power. Men want the number one thing in the world, which is what only women have. So therefore, when women play their cards right, they can basically make a man do damn near almost anything they want. Or if a man says, look, I'm not willing to put up with that. I'm not willing to have to jump through hoops to get that number one prize, then that's not a man you want to be with anyway. So it's a weeding out process as well. And I love when she was talking about, you know, it's a man's job to appeal to you, not the other way around. That's the point. That's exactly right. Because men will always get away with whatever women let them get away with. It's all about girl power. And we've talked about this before, y'all. I mean, when we spoke with Carrie Cott about being a naturist and bringing women together to just understand and love their bodies and themselves being in the nude and all of that self-empowerment, right? As a group. Or whether we were talking to the Florida pageant winners and how much they support themselves. We can go on and on. If women can come together and support each other and recognize that they have the power, if they really want it, they can rule the world. And as a man, look, we've run this thing so long. Let's just have a healthy some healthy competition. Keep us on our toes, okay? Because there is no reason, there's not a single reason for men to continue to have this hold over women where they're being what Sweet Pasta called a pushover in the bedroom. Man, when she said that, that really hurt me. That really resonated with me. Because it's not all about sexual assault and abuse. All of those things are wildly, insanely evil. And we know about all of them, and they get discussed a lot, and we need to focus more of a light on those things, clearly. But what I have not heard before is when she was talking about being a pushover in the bedroom, because that's not illegal. That's not illegal, but it is something that affects you, your mindset, your self-worth, your history, and the way that men think about you. And there's no reason for that to ever happen. So when she talks about having transferable skills, you know, what happens outside of the bedroom affects what happens in the bedroom. Always speak up. Take the time to reflect. Be patient with yourself. Observe and pay attention to what other people are doing. Have confidence in yourself and instill confidence in others, particularly other females. So, sorry, my fresh take rambled on for so long, but this is very important to me, y'all, particularly because of how much I have been informed by watching my sister grow up and having so many females that I love very dearly and all the struggles they go through. And I'm just convinced that, you know, most men need to really step up their game. Just be kind, be good people, and show respect. And just love the ladies a lot better. If you're not motivated to do it on your own, like a real man, then ladies, you need to get out there and force them to do it. All right. That's all I got to say. Just dropping knowledge bombs. Boom. All right. So thank you for listening in on my fresh take and listening into this episode of the Fresh Mix. Look forward to having you join us again and again and again. I appreciate y'all. For details and show notes about today's show and our guest, go to freshmixpodcast.com. The Florida Podcast Network has a closed Facebook group exclusively for superfans of their shows. Just search for FPN Insiders on Facebook to leave us comments, get early scoops, contests, and other special treats. Or you can just complain about, well, I was going to say complain about how Florida this or Florida that, but humbly, Florida, we've been through some difficult times lately in Miami Beach, and I just want to say that I don't think it's the appropriate time to complain about Florida. Let's just instead reflect about how we can make safety in Florida better and improve it for people when they come here on vacation and also for the people around them. And that's all I'm going to say about that at this time. All right. Anyways, be sure to visit all the great shows on the Florida Podcast Network. Keep catching Who's Fresh in the Florida Mix with Florida's Fresh Mix podcast.